The second presenter of this session is Professor Masafumi Asada of Seijo University. Professor Asada specializes in modern and contemporary history of Russia and East Asia. And his books include Middle East Railroad Management History, Russia and Manchuria, Chiang Kai-shek's Diplomacy, Sino-Japanese War, Another Battlefield, and Empire Japan, Last Battlefield, and so on. Dr. Asada, please. Thank you for the kind introduction. My name is Asada from Seijo University. Today, I would like to review the Battle of Southern Sakhalin and Kuril Islands as global history. When you think of the locations, Southern Karafuto and the Kuril Islands, it is about the war between Japan and the Soviet Union. It is true, but it has a global perspective, and you have a different finding because of the presence of the United States in this picture. You would find another framework to the entire picture, and 1945 is a quite important year for Japan. 1941, 43, 44. No, it was 1945 which gave a decisive impact to post-war Japan. And I would like to talk about three things today. First, U.S. military and the relationship of Southern Karafuto and Chishima Kuril Islands, and the opening of the war between Japan and Soviet. And the third is Japan's divisions according to the post-war occupation by Soviet Union. First, Southern Karafuto and the Kuril Islands. U.S. Army took interest in the area starting in 1942, June, beginning with the occupation of Atsu Island by Japan. And this particular area is quite important key to the diversion operations at Midway, and it had several airfield constructions. And in relation to that, Southern Karafuto and the Chishima Islands took U.S. interest. This document, the air bombing objectives folder, in case of Karafuto bombing, candidate sites are listed on this folder. For example, OG paper, Shiritoru mill, and you can see target is marked here on the photograph. So Karafuto or Kuril Islands were part of the bombing targets by U.S. forces. And this is another folder on the Kuril Islands, created 1942 November. This is a very detailed map. Shumushi Island is numbered. You can see numbered targets for bombing. Like I said before, ATS was quite important to both U.S. and Japan, and ATS was left with no surrender and death decision by Japanese army. And to U.S., they were considering the maritime province and the Kamchatka Peninsula as part of the, we say, territory to borrow from U.S., from the Soviets, so that they can take advantage of Japan attacks with those locations. 1944, towards the end of the year, U.S. started to have a big surge and attacking peripheries of the mainland Japan, so that these islands are getting closer to the U.S. front, so to speak. And this is the Kuril Islands. And this one carries more detailed map of Shumishu Islands and also marked bombing targets. Another important fact is that towards the end of 1944, not only bombings, but amphibious operations was considered for Kuril Islands. And this document reveals the appropriate or adequate ground operations conditions by season, so to speak. Kiel Brooks was the operation code name. And the target on the ground included the Paramushil. It's one island south of Shumishu. The Shumishu is the most northern Japanese territory, and Paramushil is right next to Shumishu on its north. Why is this important? And navigation between U.S. and Soviet must pass through somewhere in these island chains. And where should you cruise it? Perhaps towards the north. It's more convenient for both armies. And the Paramushil is closer to the northern border. That's why it's chosen. And the U.S. asked the Soviet to attack Japan. In return, Soviet would get support materials. And that was a promise made. And ocean passage was a mandate in this particular ocean. And as you know, February 1945, Yalta Conference was held, and decisive agreement was made between Roosevelt and Stalin. And Roosevelt asked Soviet for its support so that the southern half of Sakhalin and the Kuril Islands would be captured by Soviet Union. And this was comprised as the Yalta Secret Agreement document. Sakhalin and the Kurils were mentioned in a different way, meaning to say the bargain between powers, superpowers, made the current situation possible in terms of territorial assignments. And as you can see, that not everything was taken by Soviet Union. What's important here is that in this secret agreement, Tsushima or Kuril was not specifically mentioned. No definition of islands given for Kuril demarcation, so to speak. And this was part of the Yalta Secret Agreement. So this was not known broadly. And after the Yalta Agreement was signed, Tsushima's new operations were being planned. But before and after Yalta, there are differences. As you can see, 22nd of February, Matsua, Central Kuril and Northern Kuril were mentioned in the operation. Why? The Soviet cooperation or support was not given. And this is my assumption for this, that the Yalta Conference, in this conference, Roosevelt said that the U.S. would like to have a naval base in somewhere in Kamchatka. Stalin didn't say yes or no. And for the other areas, U.S. may place some base. But what about Kuril or Kamchatka? It's not promised. So, Paramasi were difficult. Matsua and Etrol have to be made as a target of the attack. What's interesting is that Southern Karafto was in the scope of U.S. operation. Specifically for Southern Karaft, Southern Sakhalin, air base will be placed according to the plan so that they can be the base for Hokkaido and the mainland bombing. However, the direct army landing was not planned to capture Southern Sakhalin. In the end, this was again discussed between U.S. and the Soviet in Potsdam meeting, Potsdam conference. And this is the operational demarcations of the two militaries. And as you can see, the assignment says Southern Sakhalin, all by Soviets. And for Kuril Islands, Sumis, Paramushil, and other small islands would be assigned to Soviet operations, and the rest to the U.S. operations. That was decided. The problem is that they didn't honor this demarcation. Now, the next topic.
Then the war opened between Soviet Union and Russia and Japan in 1945 from August to the September. This is in the 8th of the 10th of August, there was the Potsdam Declaration was accepted. And initially, in the Soviet side, the purpose of their aggression was to eliminate the Kanto Gun or Kanto military. And then Sakhalin, so they are started at a later point of time. In Sakhalin, on the August 11th, Shumish Island, that was from the 12th of the August that the war had been started. Fighting has been started. And from Sapporo, it will be from Sapporo, from number 5th, the commander, Mr. Higuchi. Mr. Higuchi's evaluation in Japan has been quite elevated these days. But in Hokkaido, did he really protect Hokkaido is the question. But in that was rather the deals and agreement negotiation between the U.S. and the Soviet Union has rather left the Hokkaido to Japan. But I'd like to skip this point for today's discussion. And initially from South Sakhalin, let me briefly describe that in South Sakhalin, in this north latitude of the 50 degrees of the South Sakhalin. So South Sakhalin on the western side of South Sakhalin, in the Nish Saktan, west Saktan, and in these regions, and there will be some of the attacks has been started. On the backbone side, that has been attacked from the Soviet Union in Sakhalin. And ultimately speaking, August 22nd, there was the ceasefire agreement was concluded. And because of the ceasefire agreement was later than the August 15th, and this was the Session2 agreement in Manchuria and also Tsushima Islands, archipelago. This didn't mean so much from the end of the World War II, August 15th. But ultimately, Session2 agreement was made. And in August 25th, they finished, the Soviet military have finished their occupation. And those who have passed away or military dead were more than 5,000 people. In Japan, that is where the battlefield was conducted in South Sakhalin. It was since 1943, this was the Japanese territory, the Sakhalin, South Sakhalin. So that is how this has happened. Based on this, in Siberian, the 60,000 was POW of Japanese personnel in Sakhalin and Kuril Islands in Siberia. And those Japanese, according to Japanese statistics, it is considered to be 60,800 people from these islands. And the Shumesh Islands fight or battle that has started from the August 18th to the 23rd of the 1945. In this region, in Soviet aggression has happened in this area, and because of the self-protection, a battle has been started between Japan and the Soviet Union, and I think many of you know that. And after that, what kind of meaning does this battle have? I don't think it's meaningless, because by this battle, that's been started in this area, but in Tsushima archipelago, and they did not attack the mainland, so that is without bleeding the blood. That was the occupation. So in Tsushima, so the Semish Island battle does have some meaning. Now, let me talk about the Soviet Union's idea of the occupation of Japan in divided manner. And for this point, this has been already described in the existing papers. And in details, it is written in this. Please read my paper for these details, which is written on the bottom side of the screen. And in this region, it is rather dynamic movement. And there was a draft of the General Order Number 1, that is the Truman drafted idea to MacArthur, the Commander MacArthur, and this is also shown in that document as well. On August 15th, the Truman have sent the draft idea of the occupation to MacArthur, commander, and then the Tsushima, it is within the region of the territory are being charged by the Soviet Union. But then from Truman's letter to Stalin on August 16th, they did not include that area. So that is a mystery, and nobody knows why. But based on this, on the Soviet side, they have been quite shaken in Soviet Union. And in the Yalta secret agreement, Kuril Islands, it should have been done, but this was not clarified in this letter, so there have been some discussions. Among them, against the Truman's letter, there's also, and the draft has been written by these two people. One person is Bulganin, the Defense People's Committee deputy, and then we have the Red Army, Mr. Amantonov of the Soviet Union military. And then August 16th, they have sent this draft to Truman and return letter to Truman. And this letter with Stalin that has been considered as such. According to this document, as you can see in this bottom part, so now you can find it from this website. Maybe in the future, this may not be able to see it in the future, but as of today, you can see it on this URL. And this is a very short one, actually, in Russian. I cannot introduce all of them. Let me introduce the just key points. One, the high commander in the Far East, representing the Allies, would not be created and command rights of the military in each dominated regions. That is to be depending on the commander of the Allied forces. And also major islands in Japan, and that's be divided into the occupation area of the Allied countries, and the Soviet Union would have this Hokkaido. If this was accepted by Americans, this may have been excluded. And also, in the item number 3, this Hokkaido and area to be the area to be ruled by the Soviet Union. And the inner Mongolia, Sakhalin, and also Tsushima, Busan, and Kuril, and those Korea, the northern part of the northern latitude of 38 degrees, and the northern part of this area as well. And just for the side issue, because of on August 11th, Molotov, the external People's Committee member, and also requested the Far East Soviet commander Vasilevsky to be part of the highest commander in the Allied forces. But the Stalin have replied to this letter in this way, and it was based on these requests and requirement, all the Kuril Islands to be included in this agreement. And the other point that he mentioned is also written talking about Hokkaido. In Hokkaido is important too, but in Tsushima Islands, and it does not describe which range is the actual Kuril Islands, which could have caused the problem. In Hokkaido, Rumoi and Kushiro, and those regional geographical area is considered in this way, but the Hokkaido having the importance in facing with the straits, and Soya Straits, and Tsushima Islands, and not just the South Sakhalin, but also it's safer and to conduct this so that if they have conducted more generously to that part. And this message is actually sent letter back from Truman. But for all the tourists will be given to Soviet Union, but then did not describe about the Tsushima Island. And then the Japan-specific Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, Kyushu, and the intention was such that they will be subject to and subordinate to the Makassar. And this is being marked as such, and I'll skip some of this. And whether this X's that has been shown in a bigger character letter, is it there's been such dissatisfaction conveyed in the message or not? It's not clear. And also Hokkaido commanding the game plan was suspended, but then and Hokkaido did not, the Soviet Union did not give up on invading Hokkaido because that has been Japan occupation plan was also written in that. And Nikolai Borogov is the naval forces, and in that document, and that is what he has written in the green area. That is where it is the Soviet Union is in charge, and then also include the Hokkaido entire region as well, northern part. And this is by the Nikolai Slavin. He is the Soviet military and the Secret Office director. And as of thinking about today, in the Chosun Peninsula and also Busan is also included, and Hokkaido, and this is the boundary that was intended to draw. But now, the Soviet Union now became in charge of the entire Hokkaido. So as a result, did not happen, but the reason for that, and the straits, is very important. In Japan, Tsugaru Straits was very important, especially pre-war period, and this may have not been always necessary on some other regions. And the Dalian and also Ryojun, these need to be governed in terms of the occupation in Korean Peninsula, and this has been impacted from that. Lastly, in summary, And for this region, from Tsushima and Sakhalin, and that has been without the occupation and to be considered by this. And it's 1942, and due to the Cairo Declaration is there, but that is including Okinawa, and that is not clearly written about the islands there. So 1945 has a lot of potentials and subject to change. So some of the game plan that has not been conducted yet, and there will be a lot of best options available, and that can be seen in this chart. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.